Hello. All right. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Deja D. This is D Love Journey. And I'm doing something completely new today. This is my very first live video, so I am a little nervous, not gonna lie, but also excited because, growth, change, it's giving all of that. I First off, thank you for being here. I'm going to be talking about, as you can see from the title of this video, something that a friend of mine actually brought up as a topic we were going to do for a tea time. And it felt right. What it really is coming down to is the um, right now, the energy in the air, there's retrogrades and a lot of chaos, especially around relationships. So I really want to kind of focus a little bit on the topic of infidelity and just, happiness within relationships. Okay. So first, share a little bit about my experience and what I have gone through, and then kind of just get into my views as whether or not a relationship can last outside of breaking that commitment. So, um, I'd be lying if I said I never got on. And everybody has been in relationships where I'm sure you either felt like you were being cheated on or you confirmed that you were cheated on or whatever the case may be. But I can remember even way back like school, the very first time that I got cheated on, literally I was laid up with my boo. I grew up in a pretty liberal household for the most part, so I was able to kind of move freely. But I just remember with my boo on the weekend, we just had a nice little day. My going through his phone, I saw that he was talking to one of his exes. And so, without asking any questions, I literally packed up his little bit of stuff that he had there in my room and literally put it in a bag and put it outside the door and handed him his phone, like, hey, what we're not going to do is that. So I see you talking to your ex. If you want to be with her, then you leave. And so that was my first experience um, of infidelity, and it broke my little heart. Okay, but obviously that wasn't the last. I've been in situations where um, I've really been hurt by partners and et cetera, et cetera. I've even gone to a space, just to be honest, where I've been in every position, being the side chick. Sorry, y'all, my internet is acting up. But when you're in that space and you first realize, the person who you've been with has basically broken your trust, it is a feeling where, oh no, oh hey, it's Tasha. Hey girl. Hey, let me see. My connection is bad. Let me see if I can turn off my Wi-Fi real quick. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Um, what was I talking about? Oh, when you get in the space where you okay, good. It's better now. When you get in the space where you are feeling, all of the feelings finding out, your trust has been broken and you really need a lot of like reassurance, and so I just want to say the first thing in that space when you have had someone, be unfaithful is knowing that you're enough. At least for me, I definitely got in a space where I started questioning, what did I not do? As a woman, we're taught we have to be the perfect, housemaker. We got to cook, we got to look good, you got to, keep all the tricks up in the bedroom. You got to do all these different things to keep your person, right? And so when that trust is broken, it definitely leads you down this road of feeling like, okay, like, what did I not do? you're trying to convince yourself that it's not your fault. You're trying to, convince yourself that you're enough, or basically the blame game. You know what I mean? And so for me, I feel like it's important just to be reassured that in this space, even though you are hurt, just knowing that you are enough and knowing that you don't have to convince your partner or other people of your value, okay? To not let someone else's choice change how you feel about yourself. Okay? So that's first and foremost, because ultimately when it comes down to the infidelity, that's one of the main reasons why, things don't work out and why you can't really push past it, because I feel like it breaks down your level of confidence. And so um, for me, I want to say that sharing your path with someone in general is something that's sacred. It's a gift, and it's something that um, you really should approach knowing that, and so what you bring to the table in a relationship, it's not just about sex. Okay, I have this belief that like sex is a part of human nature. We all need it, and depending on if you are the masculine or feminine energy in a situation, you may desire more of it. But in actuality, when you are in a space and you are committed to someone, you're on a path, right? And on that path, sometimes people get distracted from the us. And so I think that really we have to remember that some of these relationships are very karmic, and understanding that, everybody has their own stuff that they're going through ultimately. And you kind of have to embrace that for whatever reason, whatever situation you're in, what that other person needed or wanted was something completely outside of your control. Oh no, my service is acting up. Okay, hold on, y'all. I'm gonna pause and be right back. Okay, hopefully that helps. We'll see. If not, I'm probably gonna stop the live and start it over. But anyways, yeah, so sharing your path with someone, right? When you're in a relationship, you're building from the ground up. So keeping in count, the situation that happened is not something that happens overnight, right? I mean, when you're with someone, you're learning their weaknesses, you're learning their strengths, you're learning their traumas. And for a lot of folks, we didn't necessarily grow up in homes where we have the perfect role models to show us everything, and for some people, especially for men, I can say like there's this conqueror energy, right? Where it's almost like devour, 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 conquer, conquer. It puts value as who you are as a man, right? And so we're battling all these toxic beliefs and toxic traits. And sometimes when you're in a space, you're sharing a space with someone who you love, it's easy to get caught up in the external environment. So I feel like one thing when it comes to getting past that, you have to really take a pause, take a step back, at least in my experience. You have to take a pause and step back and really see like, okay, what went wrong? Like where are we at? Because, there could be underlying trust issues from past relationships. There can be underlying traumas from, family situations that you've experienced. There could be patterns within your own relationship that you didn't recognize, those red flags that we weren't looking at, you know what I mean? And so, like, really knowing the difference between when a mistake is happening in a low moment or when it's a character, a choice, you know what I mean? Or an unchecked desire. So, I think that's ground one for me, like sitting down and being able to figure out like what happened here, you know what I mean? Is this something that you are telling me up front about, Is this something that you are is this something that you were trying to tell me based on your actions? Did I not pick up the signs of the distance growing between us? And things like that. So I just think it's important to take that pause and kind of have that sit down. Now, sometimes you don't get the opportunity because the person who you're with is not actually giving you the benefit of the doubt of coming clean and being honest. But let's be real, our intuition will show us and tell us things even when we don't want to see it. And I think sometimes that's the hardest part, is not wanting to see the truth that is in front of us. And our perspective can be a little bit shifted. So for me, for example, when I was with my ex, we had some good times, but we also had some rough times. And in the rough times, I noticed that the way that he would interact with me would change. The way that he would interact with other people would change, right? And so in those moments, especially, when people get in their vices, under the influence, or whatever the case may be, and we see them switching up and acting up, when we see it happen, we notice it, but we don't actually go deeper into it. You know what I mean? And so I had plenty of times and plenty of instances where I could tell that his mistakes were based on not just low moments, but really just a choice to act up. And it's kind of like you feel it coming, but you don't address the trust issue right then and there. So I feel like something that's important is to really sit there and figure out what's at stake here, Because in that situation, I had a long pattern and track record of things just not clicking and working out for me. And so in that situation, our relationship obviously didn't survive because I'm not there anymore. But I'm just saying, had it been a relationship or a partnership where we had mutual ground, where we were willing to work things out, where we were able to have a sit down conversation about it and see where we stood, his infidelity would have been something that I loved him enough to work through. You know what I mean? And at that time, it might have been for different reasons. But in that moment, I knew that there wasn't much there to save. You know what I mean? And that's the hardest part sometimes, is realizing it's not you, it's the us piece, right? And that's one of the hardest things to do, to walk away from the us. But sometimes we get so distracted, we're not focusing on us, like ourselves. We're so focused on our relationships. And I mean, this isn't something that you outgrow. This is something that you actively have to work on when you're with someone in general, right? So I feel like the first step for me, once you realize your person is worth fighting for, and once you realize there's something at stake, or maybe, you guys have just grown apart over time. It's not always going to be, exciting. You might have things going on with your family. They might have things going on with work. Like, there are issues in life that make life hard. Life is hard in general sometimes. And so sometimes we have to really take a step back and see where the distance started growing. You know what I mean? And see where things started changing, so we can pinpoint and figure out, can we rebuild this? I don't think it's impossible to get past infidelity. I can say from past experience, I have been able to move past it with someone that I care about, because I realized in that moment that we weren't supporting and providing for each other what we signed up to be. We had become so distracted on our own conquest, or the things that we were working on, that we forgot to check in with each other. We forgot to show love to each other. We forgot to, provide for each other that intimacy and love. And so in that moment, even though they didn't go all the way in that situation, even though they didn't go all the way, emotional cheating is the same thing to me. Now, some people are different, don't get me wrong. But to me, I feel like emotional cheating is just as deep, right? Because it's beyond the flesh. It's building a connection emotionally, mentally with someone. And so in that situation, of course it hurts, it's hard. And I had to really take a step back and see, okay, what piece did I play in allowing this to happen? You know what I mean? I had to take a step back and think, yes, okay, Tasha, I'm glad you get me. Thank you. um, but it wasn't a good feeling to like walk through that door of, okay, like what part did I play in being cheated on? You know what I mean? And not to get confused with blame, because I don't want to say that it was something I didn't do to be enough, but there were plenty of ways that I could have showed up in the relationship, to be a better support, just as they could have showed up better for me. And so in that situation where I realized that there was something at stake, something to actually work on, my first step was sitting down and having that hard conversation. So instead of sneaking through each other's phones, and instead of continuing to hold this grudge and putting all my hate and spite into the food that I'm cooking in, like, like when you let that energy fester inside of you, I had to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, like, hey, I know this happened and I said I forgive you, but I have not been living in a space of forgiveness, right? I said I accepted something that in actuality, like, I have not truly been able to accept. And so, I want to be with you and you want to be with me, right? So how can we rebuild our relationship? And to me, the first step with that was taking a step back to rebuild ourselves. So I would say if you are in a situation or in a relationship where you have had some sense of, infidelity, or even if it's not fully infidelity, even if you're just feeling yourself growing apart or you're lacking trust, I think it's important that you take that step back and you work on yourself, because it can open up feelings of inadequacy. It can open up feelings of, overthinking and boundless realities of like, what are they doing? And let me check your location. Listen, I've been there, okay? I've been there sneaking to look at the phone. Like, we've all been in those situations, right? I'm not above any of that. I'm not perfect. But I had to acknowledge where I needed to grow in those situations. And I was so busy being focused on what they were doing and how they were moving and how they talked to this person and how they looked at that person, that I didn't even focus on myself, right? And what was making me feel a lack of confidence and what was making me feel, less than. Instead of placing the power on them and how they were making me feel, I had to really reclaim some of that. And so yeah, that's the inner work that I would say, definitely taking a step back and looking at how can you make yourself feel better, How can you make yourself feel more full? Exactly, Tasha. You have to take that step back. So how can you do that, but also, right, letting go the idea that you can change the other person? To me, that's the second step in being able to move forward, right? Because in actuality, we get so caught up in, you did this, and it's like we're keeping score. You're keeping track of everything that they did wrong, that picture that they liked on Instagram, that comment that they left, or whatever the case may be, right? But you can't change others. All we can simply do is state boundaries of what we're willing to accept and what we're not. But what you can't do is tell someone how to be, who to talk to, who to have friends with. You know what I mean? Like, that's not realistic. And so letting go that idea that you can change someone, they have to want to change enough for you. You guys have to find that meeting space in the middle of what you need to do for each other in order to rebuild that relationship up, in order to rebuild, that trust. There are so many distractions in the world. There are going to be so many other people. There are going to be so many other situations, even with your family, at work, or whatever the case may be, that's going to maybe throw you off guard. But if you're able to have some compassion for each other and really be willing to do the hard work to get your shit together, let's just keep it real, then, there's hope for you to be able to actually push past it. But it's not just a one-man show. It can't just be you wanting to fix it. It can't be you begging for them to see your side of the story, and vice versa. So being able to really recognize that it's going to take teamwork. It's going to take you coming together and doing the work separately on yourselves, but also together and look at the big picture of where you're trying to go, you know? And also, if you come to that step where you're coming together and you realize, like, actually, yeah, we're not on the same path. Because, like I said before, sharing your path with someone is a sacred gift, okay? And if you're not able to respect each other's boundaries, if you're not able to actually do the work instead of pointing the finger, then the big picture might not have you both in it. And that's okay. Sometimes we have to recognize that relationships, not all relationships are meant for forever. You know, that saying that they say about the tree versus the branch versus the roots and all of that. It's like there are some relationships that are simply here to be lessons for us, to provide us experiences of what not to do, to be our happy after, not our happily ever after, but literally like after this, you'll learn how to make yourself happy, you know? So being able to recognize when things aren't moving in the right direction, you know, if you aren't able to get on that same page, it's important to kind of let go and be okay with the fact that things might not survive. So, all in all, I really just think that I think relationships can survive after infidelity, but I feel like it's definitely going to take some work. Let me just be real. It's not something that's just going to be easy, because it's easy to cut somebody and to watch them bleed, but that scar will stay there forever. And the process of going from an open wound to, you know, healing over to a scab, it takes nursing. And you both have to be willing to nurse that back to health. And if you're not willing to do that, or if someone's going to keep reopening that scar for you and they're not able to reassure you, to validate you, you know what I mean, to show up for you, then you have to know when to walk away as well. And even though it's not easy to be on our own, even if you decide to stay together, you're still going to have to learn how to do for yourself and to stand on your own 2 feet in order to be in any healthy relationship. So I think that the major keys for infidelity would be A, really taking that step back and knowing you are enough, not allowing yourself to fall into blaming yourself or feeling less than, because then you kind of fall down that toxic slide of resentment, and just understanding that you do need to take that step back and realize where you need to tend to your own wounds and see the bigger picture of your relationship, okay? Also, making sure that you're seeing the truth, all those red flags, the patterns, okay? You got to keep it real with yourself of what's really going on. Is this something that's actually worth finding mutual ground on? You know, are you serving each other's expansion and growth? Because if not, then you got a long road of work ahead. And what's the point of working on something that ain't really gonna work for you? Let's be real. Okay. And it's no shade, because I've been there working on a relationship for 5 years, hoping things will get better. Okay. Sometimes you got to know when to let it go. Now, if you choose to stay, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to set the boundaries. You got to show up for each other. And it will take time, but it definitely is possible. So, yeah. I can't believe it's been 24 minutes already. I don't know what the service looks like, but I'm hoping that you guys were able to see me and hear me clearly. I just wanted to come on here and give a little talk about something that I've personally experienced. Something that I'm sure a lot of people, if they're not going through it now, will be going through it or have gone through it. We've all gone through this. I think it's important to show that, you know, nobody is perfect. Sometimes we look at other people like they have it all and, oh, their relationship is so perfect. Well, you never know what people are going through, okay? You never know. So don't get down on yourself about the problems that are going on with your relationship or with whatever, you know. Give yourself grace, and even give your partner grace, even if they wronged you. You know, don't have any ill will. Just move forward with love. It all comes down to that. Most importantly, loving on yourself, okay? So, yes. Thank you guys for being here for my first live chat. I hope that this is encouraging for you, you know, and learning a little bit more about me If there is anything else that you guys would like to have a little live chat about, definitely drop it down in the comments. For the people who were here live with me, I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And for those of you who will catch this later, you know, drop some hearts down, drop some love for me in the chats. If you want any specific topic that we could talk about live, maybe not this late at night, maybe during the daytime or something like that, I would love to participate in that with you. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Send you guys tons of love, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.